There's a moment many of us have experienced, a kind of spiritual whiplash. It's that instant when we share something that feels sacred, a piece of our own soul's journey, a moment of profound personal insight, a hard-won truth about grace, or a glimpse of a peace that surpasses understanding, only to watch it be met with blank stares, casual dismissal, or even a smirk. The very thing that felt like a luminous pearl in our hands gets tossed aside as worthless, or worse, as picked up and used as a weapon against us. That visceral feeling of preciousness rejected, that sting of vulnerability met with hostility, is a shadow of a far deeper warning. It echoes through a teaching from the Sermon on the Mount, one of the most vivid and often misunderstood instructions we have from the rabbi from Nazareth, Yeshua, as recorded in the Gospel of Matthew, another Hebrew, chapter 7, verse 6. He tells us, "Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, lest they trample them underfoot and turn back to attack you." At first hearing, it sounds jarring. It clashes with everything we know about the rabbi from Nazareth, Jesus, who welcomed tax collectors, ate with sinners, and taught us to turn the other cheek. In that culture, to call someone a dog or a pig was among the harshest insults, marking them as not just unclean, but as the bottom of the social and religious order. So, what are we to make of this? Was the teacher from Nazareth suddenly teaching us to be stingy with the good news? To judge who is worthy of receiving it? This is where the decoding begins, and where many traditional interpretations, often from well-meaning evangelical or reformed preaching, might lead us astray. The common explanation is that this verse is purely about audience discernment, that the holy thing and the pearls presented the gospel message, and we must be wise and not waste it on those who are clearly hostile or mocking. While there is a surface level wisdom in not arguing endlessly with someone who only wants to fight, this reading falls painfully short. It turns the teaching into a strategic lecture on target demographics, which feels utterly foreign to the radical, heart-centered ethics of the Sermon on the Mount. What if we've been reading the metaphor backwards? To understand, we have to step into the world of the text. In the Hebrew tradition, the imagery was deeply rooted in law and practice. The book of Exodus commands that meat torn by wild animals in the field is unclean and must not be eaten by a holy people. Instead, it is to be thrown to the dogs. The holy meat from the altar, consecrated for sacred use, is for the people of God. The action, throwing something to the dogs, was a ritual declaration of what was not for you, what was profane. So to throw what is holy to the dogs is not a comment on the dogs, but a devastating indictment of the one holding the meat. It is the act of a fool who treats a sacred gift as worthless garbage. Now the pearls before swine, image reinforces this. Pearls in that world were among the most precious of jewels, symbols of immense value and beauty. Swine, considered unclean animals, have no capacity to appreciate a pearl. They will simply trample it into the mud, seeing it as a useless obstacle to their search for slop. The tragedy isn't the pig's ignorance, that's its nature. The folly, the profound perversion, belongs to the person who will take a pearl and treat it like a piece of feed. This reframes the entire teaching. The dogs and swine are not primarily symbols for other people that we must judge. They represent a state of consciousness, a brutish, reactive, and fundamentally unprepared mode of being. More importantly, the warning is directed inward, at the part of us that is capable of this desecration. When we take what is most holy, our deepest spiritual insights, our gnosis, our experiences of divine love, the transformative truths of a path, and we treat them carelessly, we are the ones performing the sacrilege. We do this when we weaponize our insight to win an argument, trying to bludgeon someone into agreement. We do this when we share a vulnerable truth with someone, not out of love, but out of a need for validation, casting it before a conscienceless, only interested in fodder for gossip or judgment. We do this when we reduce the luminous, mysterious journey of faith into a rigid set of polemical points to be scored. In these moments, we are not sharing a pearl, we are throwing it into the mud of ego, competition, and insecurity. And the backlash, the trampling, the attack is a natural consequence. When holy things are presented in an unholy spirit, they invite desecration. The recipient, feeling objectified or assaulted, will naturally lash out at the messenger. The Apostle Paul, a Hebrew, demonstrated this shift in strategy. When his message was met with persistent blasphemy and rejection in a place like the synagogue, he would deliberately turn and go elsewhere, shaking the dust from his feet. He wasn't judging the people as irredeemably swine. He was discerning that the mode of engagement had become destructive to the message itself. This teaching from the Gospel of Matthew, a Hebrew, lands with particular force because of its context. It sits directly between two pivotal instructions. Right before it, in Matthew the Hebrew 7:1-5, Jesus warns us against hypocritical judgment, telling us to remove the plank from our own eye before concerning ourselves with the speck in another's. Right after it, in Matthew 7:7-11, he speaks of the generosity of God who gives good gifts to those who ask. So why is this stark warning about dogs and swine in the middle? It acts as the crucial bridge. It's the answer to the unasked question. If I shouldn't judge hypocritically, but I also have this beautiful holy truth, how do I share it? The answer is with sacred reverence for the truth itself. The warning against casting pearls is the warning against sharing our spiritual treasures from a place of spiritual blindness, from the unhealed plank in our own eye. When we offer truth while still riddled with unaddressed hypocrisy, pride, or inner conflict, we are in effect throwing holy meat to the wild dogs of our own unresolved passions. We are ensuring the message will be trampled because we ourselves are trampling on its sanctity by the way we carry it. The early Christian monastics and desert fathers like those in the Eastern Orthodox tradition understood this intuitively. Their entire life was a cultivation of hesychia, inner stillness, precisely so they could bear the holy without defiling it. They knew that a word spoken from a cluttered, ego-driven heart could do more harm than good. Their discipline was a lifelong practice of not giving the holy things over to the dogs of their own inner chaos. So the wayfinding lessons for us becomes painfully clear, yet deeply compassionate. Discernment is not first a judgment about others, it is a protective reverence for what is sacred within and among us. So, the wayfinding lesson for us becomes painfully clear, yet deeply compassionate. Discernment is not first a judgment about others, it's a protective reverence for what is sacred within and among us. It asks us to pause and consult our inner state before we speak. Is this impulse to share coming from a place of humble, loving connection, or from a need to be right, to control, or to elevate ourselves? Are we offering a pearl from an open hand, or are we hurling it like a stone? Knowing when to speak and when to stay silent is one of the highest forms of spiritual wisdom. It is the wisdom that recognizes silence is not a failure of evangelism, but often its most profound expression. It is the wisdom that understands that sometimes the most powerful testimony is a life lived in integrated peace, which creates a space where the hungry and thirsty can finally form their own question. It is the wisdom that trusts the Spirit to work in the secret places of the heart without our clumsy forcing. This shifts the entire paradigm from force to fidelity. Our primary task is not to manage the reception of our pearls, but to tend to their quality and the purity of our own hands. When we focus on cleansing our own vessel, removing the planks of hypocrisy, the greed for conversion metrics, the anxiety to be validated, we find that what flows out naturally is different. It's not less passionate, but it's free of violence. It is not a pearl thrown before the swine, but a light held steadily in the night, visible to all who have eyes to see, and harmless to those who choose to look away.